Hi, this is Mr. Manzke. This is Unit 1, Day 8. This is page 2. We're going to go through some examples, then we'll have some practice. So the first example here is an example of vertical angles, the 40 and the x. And the question is asking us to find the value of x. So find the angle measure of angle x. So one of the rules that we talked about earlier, if the angles are vertical angles, then we would say that the measurement of x in this case would have to be 40 degrees. So all you would do is type in a 40 and just add a degree to the end of that. Okay. Second question, the second example. Says find the angle measure of angle y. This is an example of a linear pair. Two angles that are adjacent to each other. They share a common side, and the other side is a straight line. To solve this, solve for y, we have to remember that if we are going to solve for y, we know that the relationship between 140 and then angle y would have to equal 180 degrees. So what we'd have to do is use our algebra skills to solve for y. So what we could do is we could add to both sides a negative 140 degrees. We add it to the left, and we add it to the right. Back up there. Okay. Now, what's going to happen on the left side? This is a negative 140. This is a positive 140. These two are going to cancel each other out. So y would be isolated. And then on the right side, we have a negative 140 and a positive 180. So what we do there is we're going to combine the two. So we take 180 minus 140, and as a result, the answer is going to be 40 degrees. Okay. Now, for number 3, we want to solve for C. It's a similar exercise as we did for number 2. So this is the one I want you to try to do on your own. So what I'd like you to do is pause the video and then see if you can solve for C, and then we'll review the answer. So at this point now, pause the video and try to solve for C on your own. Okay, if you pause the video and solve for C, now what we're going to do is we are going to take a look and see what the answer would be. Now, what you're going to have to do is, because it's a linear pair, let's see here, it's all right. So since it's a linear pair, okay, remember, the two angles share a common side, and the other side is a straight line. So we know that the two angles C and 60 degrees is going to have to equal 180. Now, our goal is to solve for C. Now, what you could do to the left side and the right side is you could add the opposite of 60. Now we talk about an opposite, so the opposite of a positive 60, got the plus sign there. The opposite of a plus 60 would be a minus 60. So we're going to add a negative 60 to both sides. Now if I do that to the left side, I would also have to do that to the right side. So I would add a negative 60 to the right side. So then what we have to do is simplify. The 60s are going to cancel out. And then on the right side, we would take 180 minus 60, and that would give you 120. So remember, anytime that you have a linear pair, you add the two angles together, and that always has to equal 180. All right, so let's take a look at number 4. Now here's an example of two angles that are considered to be a linear pair. And what you want to do here, I'm sorry, vertical angles. And what we want to do here is we want to solve for x. So we're going to be practicing our algebra skills. So what we're going to do is we're going to apply what we've learned today. So like for example, this is two angles that are vertical angles. So I got 2x, and that's going to have to equal 96. Now if you feel that you could solve this on your own, pause the video and see if you can figure out what x is going to equal. I'll hold for a few seconds, pause the video and see if you can do it. Okay. Let's take a look at the solution. I have a 2 in front of the x. And what I need to do there is I need to solve for x. What I can do is say, okay, I can divide both sides by 2. Now if I do that, on the left side, what's going to happen is the 2's are going to cancel out, leaving me with just the x. So on this side here, on the left side, I'm going to just have x. On the right side, we are going to have 96 divided by 2. So you can do that in your head or use a calculator. But you should come up with 48 as your answer. So you'd write 48 and degrees. And don't forget, it is an angle measurement, so we should put the degree measure there. Okay. All right, so that would be an example of linear pairs and using algebra to solve for the variable x. All right, let's take a look at number 5. Okay, number 5, we're going to solve for x. Now again, if you think you can do this on your own, pause the video, and I'd like you to try to do it on your own. I'll hold for a few moments. Okay. If you try to do it on your own, or if you weren't sure, let's take a look at how you would solve this equation. All right, so our goal is to solve for x. We got x plus 20 on the left side, and we got 81 degrees on the right side. So one of the skills that we need to do is we need to be able to set up a linear equation. We need to solve for x. So we know that x plus 20 is the left side of the angle. That's the left angle. And then the right side is 81. Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to solve for x. Okay. Now, we're going to use our algebra skills to solve for x. I need to get rid of that plus 20. Okay, I want to get x by itself. So anytime that we're solving an equation like this, we're kind of doing the opposite, or we're doing like the order of operations in reverse. So like for example, I got to get rid of the plus 20. So I got to ask myself, if I wanted to get x by itself, I need to take the opposite of a plus 20, which is a negative 20. So I'm going to add a negative 20 to both sides of the equation. Remember, one of the rules in algebra, what you do to one side, you have to do to the other. And what we're going to do here is on the left side, the 20s are going to cancel out. And then on the right side, we got 81 and a negative 20. So when one's positive and one's negative, we're just going to subtract those two numbers, and we get a result of 61. Okay, and we'll put a little measurement there, 61 degrees. Okay. All right, let's look at one more. Okay, this will be number 6. Now again, if you know how to do this on your own, you'd like you to try to do it on your own, so pause the video and see if you can solve this equation on your solve for x on your own. So you pause the video and try it on your own. Okay. If you were able to solve it, let's check to see if your answer is correct. If you weren't sure how to do this problem, we'll walk through the steps and how you would solve this equation. Okay, the first skill that we need to do is we have to be able to look at the problem. Okay, and we're going to solve for x, so we have to write an equation. 74 is going to be the angle on the left side. On the right side, we have 3x minus 25. Now, what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to solve for x. Now, we're doing like the order. What we're doing is we're doing the order of operations in reverse. So, in order to get x by itself, I first need to get rid of the minus 25. Okay, we're going to do the opposite. Okay, so we got to ask ourselves, what's the opposite of a minus 25? So the opposite of a minus 25 is a positive 25. Now, one of our algebra skills would tell us that in order to solve for x here, if I add 25 to the right side, I have to add 25 to the left side. Okay, so we're practicing our communication skills. We're showing the people watching the video, okay, communicating using math, how to solve the equation. On the right side, the 25s are going to cancel out. On the left side, we're going to take 74 plus 24. If you can do that without a calculator, that's great, but if you need the assistance, that's fine. 74 plus 25 is going to give you 99. All right, so we got 74 plus 25. We said that's going to be 99. We need to solve for x. We need to get rid of the 3 in front of the x. It's 3 times x, so we got to ask ourselves, okay, what's the opposite of multiplication? That's going to be division. So I could divide both sides by 3. And when I'm finished here, so on the left side here, 99 divided by 3, if you use a calculator, you get 33. And it's going to be equals. And then on the right side, the 3's are going to cancel out, leaving you with just x. All right, and then you put a little angle here at for the answer there. Okay. All right, so those are some examples. Again, through the practice, try them on your own. If you get stuck, play the video, and then you can see some examples to help you with solving equations. Okay, my name is Mr. Manzke. Thank you for watching. Take care and have a good day. Hi, my name is Mr. Manzke, and I'm the geometry teacher. Today we're going to be looking at Unit 1, Day 8. Our focus today is going to be solving equations using vertical angles and linear pairs. Just a quick reminder of what our statement of inquiry is for this unit. It says objects in space have forms that can be measured to create beautiful art. So we're going to try to relate the lesson to art. Our learning intention today We are learning how to use vertical angles and linear pairs to solve math equations. Our success criteria is that we'll be successful when we can use vertical angles and linear pairs to solve math exercises 3 out of 5 times. First is what, first of all, our math practice standards. We're going to make sense of problems and persevere in solving them. That's our math practice standard. Our ATL skill is going to be focusing on communication skills. We're going to take a look at examples of vertical angles and linear pairs. Where do we see vertical angles? When we see vertical angles, we would see them like here is an example of a ceiling fan. The angles are formed across from one another. Okay, so like the blue arc measurement there is the vertical angles. And remember, they're always across from each other. I'll show you another example of so here's an example of a helicopter. So again, if we were to take a look at the angles across from each other, okay, those would be examples of vertical angles. Okay. So here's a picture of a railroad crossing. Okay, so again, here's another example of vertical angles. So again, when we look at vertical angles, okay, what we're referring to is across from each other. Okay, so if I'm looking at the left side, the other angle that we would be looking at is the one on the right side. They're across from each other. Okay, so like over here, these angles here, the angle on the left and the angle right, those are your two vertical angles. Here to show you some examples of linear pairs. Okay, so when you have a linear pair, okay, so here's a picture of a linear pair. Remember, this is a little bit of review. So like if you have a linear pair, okay, so you have a straight line, and then you have two angles, okay, that are adjacent to each other. They share a common side. So that would be an example of a linear pair. So like for example here, you have like a horizon. Okay, so like if you had a linear pair, one of the angles, okay, could be like a obtuse angle. And then the other angle would have to be the acute angle. Okay, so but the two angles together would make up a linear pair. Another example that you might see. This is a art sculpture or structure. Okay, the part that we circled here, or I circled, or that is circled. Okay, it's like this part right here, like this angle, and the angle next to it, adjacent to it. Okay, like right here. Okay, this would be another example of linear pairs. Okay, all right. So the next video that we'll watch is going to be the definitions. So if you have any questions, let me know. My name is Mr. Manzke. Thank you for watching.